My name is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
He was skinny. He grew up poor. Didn't play in a top league. Didn't even make it to Greece's first basketball division. So let me ask you this. How does a kid like that, a kid selling sunglasses on the streets of Athens, go on to break the NBA? What if I told you that same forgotten name, that same wiry frame, became a 9-time All-Star, a 2-time MVP, and the man who brought Milwaukee its first NBA championship in 50 years? And he did it all, while most people couldn't even pronounce his name right. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a name the world knows now, but almost no one believed in back then. He entered the league as an 18-year-old mystery. No spotlight, no guarantees. But today, he's rewriting what it means to be a power forward, stretching the game, crushing expectations, and proving that greatness doesn't come from where you start. It comes from how far you're willing to go. So how did he get here? How did he survive the hunger, the doubt, the weight of his entire family's hope? And what makes him so unstoppable now? Let's find out. Because this isn't just the rise of an NBA star. This is the story of how a skinny kid made the entire league look stupid. Before the lights, before the trophies, before anyone in America could even pronounce his name, Giannis Antetokounmpo was just another shadow on the streets of Athens. Born on the 6th of December, 1994 in the neighborhood of Sepolia, he was not legally Greek. He wasn't Nigerian either, not on paper. He was stateless, invisible, a child without a country. His parents, Charles and Veronica, had fled Nigeria in search of something better. A chance, a future, a sliver of hope. What they found in Greece was poverty, racism, and rejection. Because they were undocumented, they couldn't get stable jobs. And because Giannis was born in Greece to undocumented immigrants, he was essentially a ghost in the eyes of the government. No passport, no rights, no protections. Just a family scraping by in a nation that barely acknowledged they existed. And so, childhood for Giannis wasn't filled with sports camps or school trips. It was filled with urgency. He and his older brother Thanasis learned quickly that survival was a team sport. Day after day, they roamed the streets of Sepolia selling sunglasses, watches, DVDs, whatever they could get their hands on. They'd carry their goods in plastic bags, moving through crowded squares and train stations, hoping someone would stop long enough to make a purchase. Every sale meant food on the table. Every rejection stung, not because it was rude, but because it meant going home with nothing.
Who was the better salesman? And I looked at him and I said, that's the best. He hosts every single day. That's the best question you've ever asked any guest. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I said that he was the better salesman because you're gonna get something. Mm-hmm. You are gonna buy something. It doesn't matter. He's consistent. He's consistent. I was the best buy guy. I had to give you that second. I'm like, oh yeah, this you get this because of this, you get this because of this. Glasses.
Yeah. No.
Why?
He was charming.
Let me see your face.
He was charming.
He was charming.
He was the charming one?
Yeah, he was charming.
Their lives didn't run on dreams. They ran on coins. There were nights the family of 7 had to share a single mattress. Mornings where they didn't know where the next meal would come from. Charles worked odd jobs when he could find them. Veronica cleaned houses. But the burden was too heavy for 2 parents alone. So Giannis, barely 10 years old, joined the workforce of the streets. His hustle wasn't taught, it was inherited, born out of necessity. There were no basketball courts in this version of the story, no trainers or scouts, just a kid chasing buses to sell trinkets to strangers, watching his parents wear down under the weight of a system that offered them nothing. And yet, buried in all that struggle, something began to form. Not just resilience, but hunger. Not just endurance, but discipline. Giannis learned how to read people, how to navigate tension, how to smile through rejection. Skills that wouldn't just keep him alive on the streets, but would later make him lethal on a basketball court. But at the time, the NBA might as well have been another planet. He didn't know anything about LeBron James or Michael Jordan. His heroes were his parents. His goal was to eat, sleep, and survive. No scholarships, no youth tournaments, no golden path, just a family fighting to exist, until Coach Spiros Vellianitis saw something no one else did. A tall, lanky kid walking with Thanasis and stopped. He didn't see a street vendor. He saw potential, athleticism, a frame with promise. That man would change everything. And that moment would begin a transformation so unlikely, so absurd, that it would make the entire NBA look stupid for ever doubting him.
Και με πλησίασε σε ένα ανοιχτό γήπεδο κοντά στη γειτονιά μου ένας προπονητής, ο οποίος λέγεται Spiros Vellianitis. Με βοήθησε πάρα πολύ αυτά τα χρόνια και του χρωστάω πάρα πολλά. Του χρωστάω τη μισή επιτυχία, τη μισή δικιά μου επιτυχία.
At 13, Giannis Antetokounmpo had no love for basketball. In fact, he barely knew the sport at all. His heart belonged to football, just like his father Charles, who had played professionally back in Nigeria. Giannis wanted to follow in his footsteps, not carve out some abstract dream with orange hoops and polished hardwood. But fate had other plans. One day, as Giannis and Thanasis were wandering their neighborhood, a man named Spiros Vellianitis spotted them. He saw their height, their stride, their frame, and he didn't see street vendors. He saw athletes. He saw potential, especially in Giannis. Spiros approached with a proposition that would change the entire course of Giannis's life. Play basketball. Not just dabble in it, but commit to it. Giannis resisted at first, hesitant and disinterested, but Spiros was persistent. And eventually, the boy gave in.
I hated it. At first, I did not want to play basketball. I wanted to be a soccer player just like my dad. But the Nazis wanted us to play basketball. And, I was probably like 12 years old, and I wanted to spend time with the Nazis, so I was like, okay, I'll play basketball.
Giannis and Thanasis joined a small local basketball club in Zographou, Vellianitis. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't rich. It was a minor team in the Greek second division, a far cry from anything resembling an NBA pipeline. They didn't have a car. No one was chauffeuring them to practice. So, the brothers walked, nearly 5 miles each way, through the cold, through the rain, through exhaustion. And on the days they couldn't make the round trip home, they slept in the gym, curled up under bleachers, using rolled-up clothes as pillows. No locker room luxury, just survival and sweat. Giannis and his brother would grind every single day, practicing their form, their passing, their layups, and thanks to their amazing genes from their parents. That's where the obsession started. Giannis began to fall in love with the rhythm of the game. He started going to internet cafes, cheap, dimly lit ones where you paid by the hour, just to watch NBA highlights on grainy screens. He watched Allen Iverson's crossovers on loop, Kevin Durant's jumper, Kobe's footwork. And when the videos were over, he'd go outside and try to copy every move. No coach, no defender, just him, a cracked ball and a fading hoop. He didn't need an audience, he needed motion, precision, repetition. That self-taught rhythm started to show on the court. His game sharpened fast. And by the time he turned 16, whispers started floating through European basketball circles. There's this kid in Greece, the scouts would say. Tall, raw, but special. But even as his game grew, his legal status remained a roadblock. He couldn't leave Greece, couldn't attend international tournaments, couldn't travel to camps, because he still wasn't technically a citizen of any country. Neither Nigerian nor Greek, just a boy without a flag. That changed on May 9, 2013. Under pressure from the rising international attention, and perhaps realizing the national treasure in their backyard, the Greek government finally granted Giannis citizenship. It was a symbolic rebirth, a new name, a new paper identity, a real chance. Just days later, Giannis declared for the 2013 NBA Drive. He wasn't polished, he wasn't strong, he wasn't a lock. But the dream? It was real now, and the NBA had no idea what was about to hit them. By the time the 2013 NBA Draft rolled around, most teams still couldn't pronounce his name. Antetokounmpo? Ante-kun what? Scouts fumbled it. Broadcasters butchered it. But there was one team, one small market franchise in desperate need of a future that didn't need the name to sound perfect. They just needed the potential to feel real. And that team was the Milwaukee Bucks. With the 15th overall pick, they took a gamble. No March Madness highlights, no primetime hype. Just a 6'9" teenager from Greece, with a freakish wingspan, a body that looked like it had grown overnight, and a hunger that couldn't be measured in combine stats. When NBA Commissioner David Stern called his name,
the Milwaukee Bucks select...
I'm like, no, this until I hear my name,
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Everything is like slow motion. Walking down the stairs and I'm like,
Giannis stood up in a tailored suit that barely fit his slender frame, hugged his family, and smiled like he had just climbed a mountain. But the truth? That mountain had only just begun. Giannis landed in Milwaukee that fall, alone. He didn't speak fluent English. He had never seen snow. He didn't know how to drive. And he wasn't just adjusting to a new country. He was trying to save his family. Every cent of his rookie salary went back to Greece. Every paycheck, every bonus. He didn't come to the NBA to buy chains or cars. He came to give his parents peace. So when he didn't have enough money left for a cab to get to the arena one night, he didn't call anyone. He didn't whine. He ran.
okay, well, I have a choice here. I know that I have to be on the court like pre-game shooting in like 30 minutes. I have to start running. So I just started running and it was cold. It was cold, my hands was freezing and shaking. I was running because I was a rookie. I cannot be late.
Literally. Through the streets of Milwaukee. A millionaire on paper. A street kid at heart. And when he stepped onto the court, he played like someone who had everything to prove. Giannis didn't want to wait 5 years to develop. He didn't want to learn the system on the bench. He wanted to earn it. Game by game, minute by minute. That season, he played all 82 games. No load management, no fear, just pure unfiltered energy. He chased every block, fought for every rebound. And even though his offensive game was raw, you could see it. This kid was different. He led all rookies in blocks that year, posted highlight dunks that made SportsCenter. And slowly, the whispers started. Who is this kid? Did you see that Euro step? Wait, how tall is he now? Milwaukee hadn't just drafted a project. They had unleashed a phenomenon.
Somebody asked me the other day, oh, Shaq couldn't play today. But you're not paying attention. I am playing today. My name is Greek Freak.
The nickname Greek Freak wasn't a joke. It was a prophecy. His limbs moved like elastic. His instincts didn't match his age. And his intensity? It felt personal. Like every possession was payback for every time he was ignored, doubted, or unseen. And that was just year one. The league had no idea what was coming next. Because this skinny kid hadn't even started growing into the monster he would become. Giannis Antetokounmpo's second year in the NBA didn't begin quietly. It didn't build slowly. It exploded. And at the heart of that explosion was a bold decision by then head coach Jason Kidd, a move that would reshape Giannis's career and in time redefine the entire Milwaukee franchise. Kidd didn't see Giannis as a forward. He didn't believe in limiting this lanky whirlwind of limbs and instincts to a traditional position. This kid can play anywhere, Kidd said. 1 to 5. Doesn't matter. And he meant it. He let Giannis bring the ball up the floor like a point guard, run the break like a wing, protect the rim like a center. There were no blueprints for what Giannis was becoming, so Kidd tore the blueprints up. He handed him the keys and said, "Drive." And he did. With Chris Middleton starting to blossom as a knockdown shooter and versatile wing defender, Milwaukee suddenly felt alive again. A franchise that had won just 15 games the season before was now roaring to 41 wins and a playoff berth. The turnaround was one of the biggest in NBA history, and right at the center of it all was this so-called project from Greece, turning into a nightly highlight machine. Fans started paying attention. Opponents started game planning. Giannis's name wasn't just being pronounced, it was being feared. But the regular season is one thing. The playoffs? That's another world. And the Chicago Bulls were waiting. A veteran squad with grit, toughness, and experience. They came at Giannis with intensity he'd never seen. Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, Joakim Noah, they bullied him, they swarmed him, and the cracks started to show. Giannis struggled with turnovers. His finishing at the rim wasn't crisp. The spacing wasn't perfect. Layups bounced off the backboard. Defensive rotations came a second too late. It wasn't a collapse. It was a lesson. The kind every star gets handed before they rise. Then came Game 6. Late in the match, Bulls guard Mike Dunleavy Jr. delivered a cheap shot to teammate Michael Carter-Williams. Giannis didn't hesitate. He charged. He retaliated. And in that moment, fueled by loyalty, fire, and perhaps still the instincts of a kid who had always fought for his people, he got himself ejected. It was the final punctuation on a hard-fought series. Milwaukee was eliminated. The Bulls moved on, but here's the thing. The scoreboard didn't tell the whole story, because something bigger had happened. Giannis didn't flinch under the lights. He didn't hide behind excuses. He took the hits, made mistakes, and still left the floor with his name echoing in the minds of everyone watching. Giannis started putting up numbers. 12.8 points, 6.9 rebounds, 1.1 blocks. More than that, he cared. He competed. He locked down superstars, blocked shots, sprinted back on every possession. He didn't just belong in the playoffs. He belonged in the league. He wasn't a curiosity anymore. He was a contender in the making, and the world was about to find out just how dangerous this skinny kid could become. The summer after his playoff ejection didn't look like a vacation. It looked like exile. While other players were unwinding in the Caribbean, partying in Vegas, or flexing their brand deals on Instagram, Giannis Antetokounmpo did something different, something quieter, more dangerous. He disappeared. No cameras, no press, just sweat and silence. Into the gym, into the weight room, into late-night film sessions with no one watching. He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing transformation. And when he returned for the 16-17 season, the change was undeniable. He wasn't 6'9" anymore. He was 6'11". The wiry frame had filled out. The once boyish face had hardened. His shoulders looked carved. His first step was even more explosive. His hands? Somehow bigger. He didn't just look stronger. He looked like something out of a lab experiment. That season, he made the league pause, then panic. Because for the first time in NBA history, one player, one skinny kid from the streets of Athens, finished top 20-inch every major statistical category. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Let that sink in. Not a point guard, not a center, not a system role player. One man, one name, one freak of nature dominating every area of the game. The league took notice. Opposing coaches lost sleep. Defensive schemes bent around him. And still, it wasn't enough. He was too long to block, too fast to trap, too strong to bully, and too relentless to outwork. The NBA couldn't figure out what position he played because, in truth, he didn't play a position.
Giannis Antetokounmpo is the most improved player. I mean, the strides he made this past year, Kenny, how do you describe him?
Well, I think the one thing that we've seen with him is leadership. I think we always thought he was a great player, but then this year it was the first time, from an outside in, we saw the leadership skills of taking guys to another level, and I thought that was the biggest part of what he did well.
Commentators stopped comparing him to others. He's not the next LeBron, one analyst famously said. He's the first Giannis. And maybe that's what made him so electrifying. There was no prototype. He was unlike anything basketball had seen. Not quite a guard, not quite big, but a nightmare in transition. A hurricane of limbs in the paint, a freight train that didn't just run through defenders, he disassembled them. Kevin Durant, already an MVP and scoring champ, once said it best, "The Greek freak is a nightmare. I don't know how you guard that." The accolades followed. That season, Giannis was named the NBA's most improved player. But it wasn't just an award. It was a warning. A flare shot across the basketball world. He's coming. And he's not done. Because here's the part that stunned even his critics. After putting together the most complete season of his young career, after leading the Bucks in literally everything, after transforming from a lanky kid into a full-blown basketball anomaly, Giannis didn't slow down. He doubled down. He got even better.
And being in the East for so long before I went to San Antonio playing against Giannis and seeing the development to where he is now, it's incredible. It's remarkable the effort that you see he put in to want to be great.
And what was once seen as a long-term project was now becoming the most unstoppable force in the NBA. The skinny kid hadn't just grown up. He was starting to take over. It started with 3 letters, shouted in arenas, printed in headlines, etched into legacy. MVP. In 2019, Giannis Antetokounmpo was crowned the league's most valuable player. The 2019 NBA Most Valuable Player.
The 2019 Kia NBA Most Valuable Player goes to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
The same kid who sold DVDs in Athens, who never played in Greece's top league, who ran to games in Milwaukee because he couldn't afford a taxi, was now the best basketball player on the planet, averaging 27.7 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 9 assists. He wasn't just dominating. He was bending the game to his will. Coast-to-coast drives, violent dunks, arms everywhere on defense. And somehow, he still wasn't at his ceiling. Then came 2020, another MVP. But this time, he added Defensive Player of the Year, a feat only Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon had ever achieved in the same season. Giannis had arrived as a true two-way force. Unstoppable on one end, unmovable on the other hand. It should have been his crowning moment. Instead, it became a trial. The Miami Heat built a wall. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Eric Spoelstra dared him to shoot, and it worked. Milwaukee was bounced in 5 games, and the noise began. He can't shoot. He can't win. Just a regular season guy. Some would have left, joined a super team, headed for LA, Brooklyn, or Miami, but not Giannis. He stayed. In December 2020, with every critic shouting for him to run, Giannis signed a $228 million Supermax extension with Milwaukee. Not just a contract, a promise. "I'm not leaving," he said. "Not until we win a championship."
That's what it is, Tom. We just got the same tweet as well. Giannis on his Twitter account, social media, saying, "This is my home, this is my city. I'm blessed to be a part of the Milwaukee Bucks for the next 5 years. Let's make these years count." The show goes on. Let's get it.
In an era of exits, he chose loyalty. In a league of shortcuts, he chose to struggle. He stayed with the team that believed in him first. The league kept doubting. Giannis didn't blink, because the real answer was coming next. The 2021 NBA playoffs weren't just a postseason run for Giannis Antetokounmpo. They were a declaration, a challenge to every critic who said he couldn't shoot, couldn't win, couldn't carry a team through the fire. And the fire came fast. Round after round, the Bucks faced adversity, pressure, and improbable opponents. But nothing tested Giannis more than the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Brooklyn Nets, a team stacked with future Hall of Famers in Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. Harden was hobbled. Kyrie went down mid-series. But Kevin Durant? He went nuclear. In Game 5, KD dropped 49 points in one of the most efficient playoff performances ever, and suddenly, the Bucks found themselves on the brink. Game 7 became an all-out war. Durant hit a fadeaway dagger in regulation that looked like the game winner, only his foot was on the line. Overtime. Giannis didn't blink. He poured in 40-plus points, banged inside for every board, and led the Bucks to a stunning win. Milwaukee advanced. Brooklyn went home, but the job wasn't done. The Bucks steamrolled Atlanta in the conference finals, but not without another heart-stopping moment. In Game 4, Giannis suffered a hyperextended knee, an injury so gruesome on replay, most feared his season was over. It looked like a tear. The way his leg bent, unnatural, even for a freak. But somehow, impossibly, he returned. Not in months, not in weeks, but in days. The 2021 NBA Finals began with the Bucks trailing the Phoenix Suns. Game 1, he played, but cautiously. Game 2, he exploded, dropped 42 points. But Milwaukee still fell behind 0-2. Then something shifted. The Bucks took Game 3, then Game 4. By Game 5, Giannis was stringing together one of the most dominant finals performances in modern NBA history. And then came Game 6. It was a night for the history books, with the weight of 50 years on his shoulders. The last Milwaukee title coming back in 1971, Giannis delivered the performance of a lifetime. 50 points. In a closeout NBA Finals game, not only did he dominate offensively, but he did it from the free throw line, an area of his game that had been mocked relentlessly for years. He went 1-7 for 1-9 from the stripe, 17 for 19. The one thing they said he couldn't do, he did it under the brightest lights. As the final seconds ticked away, Giannis sank into the moment. He screamed, he cried, he fell to the floor. Confetti poured down like redemption. The kid who ran to games in Milwaukee now stood at center court, champion, finals MVP, legend. Milwaukee had waited 50 years for a title. And it didn't take a super team. It didn't take big market flash. It took one man, one brother, one freak of nature who refused to quit. One skinny kid who made the entire NBA look very stupid. The story of Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't end with a championship parade. In fact, for him, the confetti wasn't a conclusion. It was a new beginning. After delivering Milwaukee its first title in 50 years, Giannis could have coasted. He could have ridden the wave of fame, settled into superstardom, and let his legacy rest. But that's not who he is. In 2024, he returned hungrier than ever, leading the Bucks to capture the inaugural NBA in-season tournament title. In a competition designed to inject fresh intensity into the regular season, Giannis shined the brightest. He didn't just dominate, he defined the moment. He was named tournament MVP, once again proving that when the stakes rise, so does he. But that wasn't the only historic headline he wrote that year. In the 20th of July, 24, Giannis did something even more symbolic. He carried the Greek flag at the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics. The once stateless boy, who had no official nationality for the first 18 years of his life, marched proudly across the global stage, representing a country that once hesitated to claim him, now embracing him as its pride. The image of Giannis, towering, smiling, flag in hand, became more than a sports moment. It became a statement of identity, of arrival, of full-circle triumph. But off the court, that's where Giannis continues to surprise. He's not just an athlete, he's becoming a cultural architect. He co-founded Improbable Media, a production company focused on storytelling that reflects his journey and roots. One of the first projects greenlit, a documentary about his rise. But it doesn't stop there. Giannis is also developing television shows set in Greece, capturing slices of life from the neighborhoods he grew up in. And, in true Antetokounmpo fashion, he even pitched a cooking show, blending family recipes and humor, because that's Giannis. He'll drop 40 on you one night, then joke about how much he loves smoothies the next. Despite his wealth and global recognition, his core values haven't changed. Family, humility, hard work. Those are still the cornerstones of everything he does. He brings his brothers, Thanasis, Kostas, and Alex, everywhere. He still dances like nobody's watching. Still laughs with the wide grin of a kid who remembers every sacrifice it took to get here.
I want to thank the front office, the ownership, for believing in me when I was 18 years old back in Greece. I want to thank my dad. Obviously, my dad is not here with me, but 2 years ago, I had the goal in my head that I'm going to be the best player in the league. I'm going to do whatever it takes to help my team win, and I'm going to win the MVP.
Giannis didn't just win a ring. He built a legacy, one that stretches far beyond basketball. And even now, with the world at his feet, he never stops moving. Because greatness, for Giannis, isn't a destination. It's a lifelong chase. In September of 2017, just as his star was beginning to rise, Giannis Antetokounmpo was struck by a tragedy that shook him to his core. His father, Charles Antetokounmpo, the man who had sacrificed everything to bring his family from Nigeria to Greece, suddenly passed away from a heart attack. He was just 54 years old. It was unexpected, devastating. And for Giannis, it was nearly the end of the story. He didn't just grieve, he broke. There were days he couldn't get out of bed, days he questioned everything. The game, the fame, the grind, none of it seemed to matter without his father there to witness it. The man who once walked miles beside him to basketball practices, who defended his dreams when no one else could see them. Gone, just as the dream was becoming real. Giannis admitted later, in interviews and in the powerful Prime Video documentary Giannis: The Marvelous Journey, that he came terrifyingly close to walking away from basketball altogether. The pain wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual. Basketball had always been a family mission, a vehicle to honor his parents' sacrifice. Without Charles, that mission felt hollow. But in the quiet aftermath, Giannis made a decision. He would stay, not for the fans, not for the trophies, but for his father's memory. Every rebound, every dunk, every victory became a tribute. He wore his father's legacy like armor. Not a burden, but a source of unshakable fuel. And even now, all these years later, Giannis still plays like his father is in the stands, watching, guiding, smiling. The hunger hasn't dulled. The fire hasn't faded. And here's the part that most people forget. He's still only in his late 22nd. He hasn't peaked. He hasn't plateaued. He's still evolving, still crafting a legacy that's far from finished. The league sees a champion, a two-time MVP, a finals MVP. But Giannis, he still sees the boy walking the streets of Athens, chasing coins and chasing hope. He's not done, not even close. So what do you call a skinny kid who couldn't afford a cab, who shared shoes with his brothers, and sold sunglasses on the streets of Athens just to survive? A kid born without a country, without status, without a future? Some call Giannis Antetokounmpo a unicorn. Others call him a miracle. But maybe he's something more than that. Maybe he's proof that greatness isn't given, it's earned. Through hunger, through heartbreak, through humility. He didn't come from a basketball powerhouse. He didn't go to a blue blood college. He didn't follow the script. He wrote his own. Through sweat-soaked gyms, through grief, through loyalty when everyone told him to leave. From unknown 15th pick to MVP to champion, Giannis didn't just arrive, he forced the world to see him.
He's the first big man that I've seen average 27-13 without post moves. So he's a point big man, the new era of basketball for big guys. He's playing at the top of the key, very unconventional. But what I like, he reads the defense very well. He does what he's supposed to do as a big guy. Just take it right to the hole. Everybody's saying, yeah, but he needs to work on the jumper.
So the next time someone tells you you're too skinny, too raw, too late, remember this kid from Sepolia. He made the entire NBA look stupid. And he's just getting started. If you like this video, don't forget to press the subscribe button and ring the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos from our channel. Please leave your comments and suggestions below in the comments section, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. This action also contributes to motivating us to work even more diligently. Have a great day.